Alrighty, we are here.
And we're
And
trying
supposedly
not
that's a
to
big problem.
die.
What'd you say, Rue?
I was just, you said we are here, we are queer, and I'm like, and supposedly that's a big problem nowadays.
Yeah, and people are mad about that.
Fuck them.
They can get mad.
People always been mad about it.
Yeah.
They can die mad.
Seriously, let me regale the audiences with our latest hate crime in our lovely blue city of Philadelphia. On Friday, I had to go to Wawa to take cash out because if you don't go to Wawa, then you got to pay fees, and I didn't want to pay fees. So I go to Wawa, and everybody else had the same idea because there was a line of at least 10 to 15 people waiting for the one ATM that wasn't broken in this Wawa. I was like, I don't care. I got nowhere to go. I will wait in line, blah, blah, blah. But enter entitled biatch number one, who proceeded to get in line and immediately go, ah, this is ridiculous. You know the type. It's just the world is not good enough for her. And everything was fine until a poor young, obviously queer, obviously autistic boy tried to get past her. And my God, you would have thought he tried to kill her family line. She just starts tearing into him, just calling him every nasty name on the face of the planet, screaming at him, telling him that she hopes that he shows up at her hospital. Granted, she was in scrubs, shows up at her place of work so that she can look in his face and laugh at him. Just all these horrible things, culminating in her throwing the fucking F slur in the middle of the Wawa at this poor young boy who was just trying, he was apologizing profusely. I snapped my head, looked at this bitch. She saw me look at her. And I'm very proud to say that I did not get into a fight in the middle of the Wawa. I took my cash out, I took my time, and as I was leaving and pushing my way past this lovely person, I said, "Excuse me, ma'am," and walked out the door. But it's just the fact that there's literally people in this fucking city that think it's okay to launch into a slur derogatory tirade because you blocked an aisle. That is all.
Yeah. It kind of feels like the gloves are off sort of on both sides in a way, but it's really fucked up because there's still a lot of animosity between marginalized communities. Like, it's not just Karens, it's not just white lady Karens, it's like every race, creed, minority of people against the fucking queer community. And I can't tell you how much that infuriates the fuck out of me because this is a conjoined fight. They're coming for all of us, you dumb motherfuckers.
I was told by a Lyft driver who was an immigrant. He was from Africa somewhere. I don't know where. He was very nice. He really was. He was a great guy. So I don't feel like this necessarily changes that. But we were talking about the state of things, and I thought I was. I don't want to say I necessarily wasn't safe. I don't want to use that word, but
among friends.
Yeah, I thought allyship or whatever. Not that I trust that either, as we've talked about before. But when I tried to talk about my partner at home and his safety and things like that, I was just met with a laugh and like, well, that's your choice.
Yeah, that's your choice.
Oh, I love that line.
As if to say like the plight of queers will just never be the same. You know what I mean? Like the plight of queer people is just not enough somehow. I don't know. But it's everywhere. I mean, I try not to use social media too much because I swear a lot of the shit you see on like comment sections are just bots. But I do still see it in my own life. You know, I see it all the time where when we insert queer theory into something, it's suddenly sort of like, oh, da, 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 you know, and everyone just suddenly like backtracks. And
Right,
it's
as
just
if like we have an agenda, like we're trying to push a political agenda, and it's like we're not trying to push a political agenda, we're just trying to get people to understand what life is like from our perspective, how we navigate the same fucking planet that you live on. It's like a different world that we have to sort of navigate because a lot of things just don't apply to us.
right. You know, and I watched an argument unfold, one that I was not a part of, between people where they were discussing sort of this, and it was it's just interesting, you know, like someone tried to sort of excuse it. They tried to be like, well, you know, cultures and beliefs and you know you can't and they tried to they tried to play that sort of like middle of the road kind of thing, but the thing is it's like when your culture, regardless of what that culture is, disrespects another group of people who have existed, by the way, since the beginning of time, um with an equally long history. As we've said on this podcast many a times, there are many cultures that observe multiple genders, that have seen femininity in men as divine priestesses and seers, and I know in Rome we had the feminale, the priestess class, if you will, of an ancient Roman animist deity of Cybele. Um,
I was
and
just going to say, please pull the thoughts from my head, Scott. Let's go back to the days when they worshipped us as gods and didn't see us as scum of the earth.
I know. I think about it all the time. I think about how we were once, you know, we were the we to ancient people, many queer people. No, not always either. There was a lot of you know, there was it really varied and depended on the culture. You know, sometimes it was like, I know for a lot of Celtic tribes, as far as sexuality went, they it was so normal they didn't have a word for it. It would like it, you know, it just was what it was, and they didn't give a damn. Um, and yeah. We were once seen as like, you know, this embodiment of the alchemical wedding. You know, we were divinity made flesh, and then now we're, you know, the worst of the worst. You know, we're going after children, and we're making a choice to be attacked every election. Um,
Every day.
every day. And it's bizarre because like I've been thinking a lot about where I'm at right now, and I am experiencing. I mean, firstly, I'm also like week 2 of 3. This will be the third week without my therapist. But I'm doing surprisingly better than I thought I would be without her for 3 weeks. But I will say that I am.
You're doing amazing, honey.
Thank you. I am completely overwhelmed, and it wasn't until recently, listening to other witches and seers, that I feel maybe a bit validated in this experience, where like I'm experiencing this sort of psychic overwhelm. I can feel the dis-ease, the unease. I can feel the turmoil, not just in myself, but from the ground, from everywhere. And at first, you know, I always think it's a little like I try not to go there, but the fact of the matter is that like I just feel it. It's just in my bones. It makes me sick, and it's everywhere. And you know, people talk about having to go to work or school, and you have to pretend like it's not all burning down around you, and I'm like completely unfocused. I have a quiz on Thursday, and I'm like, oh my god, you know, like I have to remember a bunch of dates, and I'm like, ugh. It's, you know.
I've been going through the same thing, like, mentally. I'm like, how? But and that's the thing with, like, in America is we're all beholden to our jobs. We're all under the gun to keep the job. We have to keep the job because or else we will be out on the fucking street. Like, the bank's gonna come for our house, and you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Like, if you don't have the money, you're not able to survive in society as it is right now. Now, I know people have their society collapsing fantasies or nightmares, depending who you are. I think for me, it's probably a combination of both. Like, society collapses ever, if I lose if like everyone's losing their jobs across the board in all sectors, in all markets, if like the majority of people are unemployed and shit is bad, like shit is just like fend for yourself, then yeah, whatever, who needs a job at that point? Because shit is just pure goddamn chaos and it's just bad at that point. But like right now it's this weird of like I must comply with the thing I've always complied with is, you have a job, you pay money, you participate in society, right? But the rage that I that I fucking feel at work is like no one's saying anything at work. Like no one says anything about any of this at work. I'm a little brave enough to say my little comments here and there, and I'm getting a little more like, especially like to my boss, like just we're kind of on the same level, and she's like, oh, like on a day we were super slow, I was she's like, what are you working on right now? I was like, well, I was working on a letter to my senator, but what do you need me to do? And she was like, really? And I was like, yeah, like this is not good. Like, but yeah, no one's really talking about it at work. The feeling on the street, like just being outside, in public, is I definitely still have this shifty eyes feeling of who did you vote for? Like every single person that I come across, it's like, was it you? Was it you? Was it you? I hate feeling that way because I feel like a hypocrite because I'm like, we have to be united and fight, and it's like we do, but it's
We do.
also like, what if your enemy is your neighbor? Then what do you do?
But that's the thing. That's how they have their strength, is by making us look under every rock, behind every curtain, making us feel like we can never sleep and never have rest. That is a deliberately archetype or engineered thing. And the best thing you can do is not give in to it and just radically hold space to love thy neighbor, even if they might have voted against you. And I know that's going to sound really controversial and crazy, but like, honestly, more people don't support these goons than those who do. The problem is and always has been that those who do are very vocal, and that these fuckers have the money to astroturf everything, right?
Yeah.
So like the vast majority of the people you argue with online, like we've mentioned, they're bots, right? I've seen certain characteristics on accounts, and I'll just say, "Shut up, bot," and they'll just be like, "Oh, you think I'm a bot?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, you don't even have a fucking face on your Facebook. Shut up. You can't. You're not
Right.
real." And like they don't respond really, right?
Mm-mm.
Like, or if they'll say, "No, I'm a person," I'll be like, "Yeah, you're a person working and sucking the musky dink, you know." So like, maybe fucking fuck off and find your humanity, you know.
Yeah.
The thing is, these people can be talked to, and even the people who, like, even not the people who voted for Trump, there's way more of us together, right? And there's a lot of people showing up to town halls, and like there's a lot of videos of like constituents screaming at Trump, and like they had to edit the video of the fucking Super Bowl because the guy is such a loser that people were screaming, "Fuck you, you're a traitor, you belong in jail," right? And they had to edit it to sound like cheers because people hate this shit, right?
Yeah.
When it feels hopeless, I want everybody to remember astroturfing is one of their number one tactics, because these people are historically unpopular. Nobody likes Musk. Nobody likes Gates. Nobody likes Bezos. The only people who actually do are like the human equivalent of like a fake rhinestone Rolex. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're douchebags, right? but
Yeah.
there's so few and far between, right? Most people voted for Trump because he was claiming he was going to do shit about the economy. Because the real problem that happened with the election was the fact that the Democrats will never acknowledge reality, right? Because then they'd actually have to do something about it. And Republicans are allowed to acknowledge reality so that they can lie about what the problem is and what they're going to do in solution, right? And that gives an advantage to these shitheads because you can never talk about the fucking problem with the Democrats because they will never fix the problem. They're there just for the continuity of the system exactly as it is now, right? But again, we talked about this last week. As fucked up and as bad as things are, it was really,
Bound to
I don't want to
happen
say it was
eventually.
always this bad because it's very clearly been exacerbated, but this sentiment did not come out of nowhere, right?
No.
This exact level of hatred and negativity and all just the most vile shit in the world. This has been here a long time. They just
has.
feel open enough to do shit about it and make an enemy out of themselves. And ultimately, that's going to be their downfall. They're too fucking stupid and short sighted to actually accomplish half the things that they want to do. Like, don't get me wrong, they are malicious, evil people, but they are not smart, they're not clever, they're not fucking tactical chess players, okay? They just have a lot of money and consolidated power, and they're not even using it very wisely.
What really sucks is they are doing a lot of fucking damage right now, though. It's
They are.
like just watching a kid in like an antique shop with a baseball bat, just going fucking crazy. I know this is completely not even a priority, but apparently the man is refinishing the desk in the Oval Office. Like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I'll
as an
say this, though.
occultist, I can only imagine the power that is in the desk at the Oval Office. Just to feel
Maybe.
whatever that might feel like. Like I can only imagine what the fuck he's gonna do to that thing. I can only imagine.
But like I don't care for preserving the institution of America because it's ultimately been a racist and very destructive legacy. And it's always just been a matter of, hey, it's peaceful enough for me. But we always forgot that there were people who had the violence of the system levied against them exactly the way that it's happening now to us, but just earlier on to them, right? It's always been this way. The buck's always just been getting passed to other people around the world in third world countries, right? And now it's here. It's come home, right? Ultimately, it sucks and it's terrible, but what else was ever going to stop the American war machine? What else was ever going to stop the endless march towards climate change? Like, in a way, these fucking dumbass fascists have helped us so much because the old world's gone. Nobody wants to fight for how things were anymore. We either want to fight for a new, better way of doing things, or they want to fight for making a worse way of doing things, right? But like, win or lose, we either die in our evolution and we got to move on with our existence as, beings that live indefinitely and just come into this life as an experience, right? And these fuckers get to have a slow, painful death in climate change if they win. Okay? Even if they win, they don't succeed, is my point, right? We can't really lose. You can stand up for freedom, you can fight for your people, and like ultimately if you die, I know like it feels like this life is all we have, but it's truly not, And we'll be okay because at the end of the day, we made the decisions to do the right thing, even if it cost us the ultimate sacrifices, right? That's what it means to grow and to love as a being, to show up for your planet, for your community, for your friends, for your family like that. Like, I know it's hard and it seems scary, but we're being given chances to be our best selves and stand up to evil that's always been there, but just feels emboldened enough to do what it's always wanted to do.
Yeah. I wanted to give a quick shout out to Kai, who's here in the chat. Kai was talking about the Oval Office desk refurbishments, and they were saying splinters fucking everywhere for the carpenters. I love it. Yeah, it's wild out there, Kai, but I'm glad you're here with us today.
Love you, Kai.
Yeah,
My buddy.
This is where I was thinking. So what you were kind of piggybacking off of what you were saying, Sophia, of like we're not fighting to go back to the way it was. Like at this point, no. Like that's out. No. We're fighting for a better world. We're fighting for the new world that is going to come after all of this is gone. When we were at a protest. It was the People Demand Change March. We were at the one. It was on President's Day. It was part of the 50-51 movement, and it was 50 protests across all 50 states. And I'm pretty sure they achieved the goal. I'm pretty sure there was a movement of some sort in all 50 states.
It was everywhere. Yeah, really. I don't know exactly how many, but there was a lot.
Yeah, so every state had something.
Pittsburgh.
What'd you say?
I said I saw the one in Pittsburgh too.
Mm-hmm. So we went to the one that was in Philly, downtown, and I know there was a couple episodes ago that me and Rue, we were talking about going to a DC protest. We were talking about going to it. We actually ended up not going to it. I can't remember the reason why. It may have been weather. I can't remember. But DC is also a bitch to get to. it's just a bitch to get to, and I'm like, we're in Philly, so let's like do a Philly one. But so we went to the one on President's Day in Philly, and when we had marched from City Hall to the Art Museum, when we were at the Art Museum, there was kind of a couple, like leaders of the protest just kind of saying what they needed to say to get the people pumped and riled up. And one of the things that one of the guy was saying, he was like, the Republicans are fucking us, and the Democrats are not going to save us, and so we have to save us. And I was sitting there, and I was like, we may be witnessing the rise of finally the third party, the third political party here that we need in America. We might be witnessing the rise of that, of just a completely third independent party that wants to change it all for good for everyone. It's very early to say that that's what that is, but it was just a thought. It was a sort of thing that sort of came to my mind. I was like, we might be witnessing the rise of the working party or the working class party or whatever the fuck we're calling it. But there was a sentiment kind of going around. It's like, okay, you have the White House, you have the government, but we have the fucking streets. These are our streets. You don't live here. You don't live where we live. Like, do you really think you're going to be able to control every single one of us? It's just not going to happen. And it was a really powerful thing to be a part of. I had never willingly attended a protest before.
And to be honest, they truly do think they can control everything. That's what I mean when I say they're fucking stupid, right? These guys are so arrogant. They're so self-assured that it's the easiest thing to play against them, right? They always think they're going to win. They always think they're going to have the backing of big money. They always think that people's pettiness and viciousness will win out over love and unity and the fucking divine anger that they have invoked in the peasants.
Yeah.
Also, not to be like overly biblical about this shit, y'all, but have any of y'all ever read Revelations?
Yes.
This shit is literally out of Revelation 6. Like, there's a line in it, like, about the Lord God. Do you not cast your eyes to us who are working and toiling and dying in the fields? And when will we be avenged? It's like, hot damn. Legit. The amount of parallels out of fucking Revelation 6 right now and what's going on is stupid.
And also, if you compare it to a lot of like the Ragnarok stories, there's a lot of parallels there too. Like this is definitely like an apocalyptic sort of phase event that we're going through. Like, we are actively living through the apocalypse, or an apocalypse, I should say. I shouldn't say the apocalypse, but an apocalypse.
No, I think it's right to call it the apocalypse. Like, real talk, if it decides the entirety of the future of the planet, especially with like climate change and World War III, it's the apocalypse.
Yeah, it might be the apocalypse, because for this to happen in America, we talk about it all the time, like, not saying America's the most important country in the world, but a lot of shit that happens here reverberates around the world. There is a global impact when shit hits the fan here. and there's a lot of shit hitting many fans right now. And yeah, this could very well be the apocalypse if you kind of think of it that way, because what we do here tends to have a ripple effect. Which doesn't. I was saying to Sophia earlier before we started recording, I just feel like I'm a tired fucking millennial, you know? Like, I have gone through...
Fucking exhausted, mate.
Like, I beat myself down in college trying to make myself super intelligent so I could get this awesome job that I never fucking got. My student loans have jumped from $100 a month to now $500 a month. I called them and I was like, hey, what are my options? And they were like, honestly, man, get fucked. You're on the best plan you could possibly have. And I was like, okay, well, cool, I guess. I feel really beat down, and yet here I am. I'm like, I refuse to die. I refuse.
You know what? I think that's why when we win this shit, because don't get me wrong, we will win this shit.
We will. It can't.
They're gonna look back. They're gonna look back hundreds of years in the future, and they're gonna praise millennials because we were the people who never got a fair shake, who got fucked over time and time and time and time again, and we still rose to fight the good fight, and we never gave up. I'm telling you, if there's ever been such a thing as a reward in the afterlife or divine justice for all we go through, have faith, y'all. Like, I'm not a fucking religious person, but have fucking faith, because the universe keeps fucking score. It sure does. And I refuse to believe for a second that what we do here doesn't reverberate elsewhere. So I know we're tired. I know we feel defeated, right? But ultimately, we're fighting for the future of everything. And if that's not enough to light a fire into your ass, remember, you're going to be remembered as a hero for this. They may not know your name. They may not recognize your face, but they'll know you by the actions you undertook.
Yeah.
Be the hero that you've always wanted to be.
And also,
that
like,
all of our millennial cartoons told us to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's true. And some of us millennials may have, I don't know, internalized that, and maybe some of us have a little bit of main character syndrome. That's fair, right? You know. But I think overall, like, as a generation, we are so simultaneously tired and pissed off. Like, because, like, we got so educated, right? And we were like, oh my gosh, wow, it's like history's repeating itself. Who would have thought? And we're like, hey guys, so we went to, we got some education. We're kind of smart, either through college or through self-educating ourselves through the use of this awesome thing called the fucking internet. And yeah, this is bad. Like, this has already happened before. It resulted in millions of people dying. It resulted in a nuclear bomb two nuclear bombs actually being dropped. So maybe we should not do this again. And everyone's like, oh, fake news. Oh, I think it's the willful ignorance of the fact. Like, it's the lack of education. And we talk about this constantly, and it's been an insidious plot that has been in play for a long, long time, and we have been talking about it. We've talked about how education is shit in this country. We talk about it all the time. It's just, I guess, we're also a massive fucking country too. Like, this is the other thing that I think about. Like, in Canada too. Like, Canada has this same sort of issue. Is like, the land mass is ginormous compared to, because, like, the French, right? They'll be like, why aren't you guys, like, revolting? It's like, okay, the country of France can fit inside the US. I don't know how many states France is big. I don't know what that like conversion would be, but you can put a lot of European countries into the landmass that is the United States and also Canada, right? And
you can subsume multiple Europes into Canada and America.
Right. And so to create that same sense of community and outreach and togetherness is that much fucking harder here because
Mhm.
like it's just such a large mass of space.
Because we often
And social
forget that it was
media only
50
does so
separate
much.
fucking countries put together into one, you
It
know?
absolutely is 50 different fucking countries because the way that this whole like federal funding sort of freeze is happening is basically what he's saying is you'll get your money back when you bend the knee. Is essentially what
Mhm.
this is about. And a lot of the governors are like, fuck you. Like most of the governors that I've seen are really
Just like
not
ours.
about it. Yeah, our governor in particular,
And the
Illinois'
governor of Maine.
governor, and Maine.
Governor
Yeah,
of Maine. Special call out to you, saying that to his face. See you in court. That was amazing.
and he literally said to her, like he said to her on camera, verbatim, noted like, if you don't comply, you'll won't get your money. And it's what president in the history of this country has ever done that? Like none of them. And I know
Oh,
that a
and
lot of
more than
people
that, he
voted.
said you'll never work in politics again.
Yeah,
You
you'll never
enjoy
work in
your life
politics
after
again.
because you won't have a career.
If this
That's
woman ends
fucked
up
up.
dead, there we have a bigger problem. Then he's just starting to like take people out. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing that I worry about is he's just going to start taking them out. And that's that especially with the whole I know and we talked about the military too, like the military well he just fired, the top dude over there, so good luck.
I don't know if y'all heard, and I want to say I don't know how much of this is true. I don't know how much of it's sensationalized. But if any, I'm more asking a question than I am saying something. But did you hear about that? I don't know if he was a former intelligence, and he said that Trump was sort of hired by the KGB.
I was reading that this morning.
Yes, I did see that. He has a code name in the KGB and he's a hired KGB asset. I fully believe it.
I Snopesed it. I went to Snopes. Snopes is my
and
yeah.
What's the
It's
validity? Real?
correct attribution.
Oh shit. Well, I mean, I'm not surprised.
He's
But
literally a Russian plant.
yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised at all.
No,
Like
no one's.
but it does feel like I don't know. At what point do I don't know. At what point do we do something about that? Like, when does our military get involved? When
Seriously.
does our intelligence get involved? Like, it seems like
Looking
it's
to be within the next 2 weeks.
It would be not. Yeah, a lot of military members are saying a lot too. Some guy today, one of our military members, I don't know his position or rank or what have you, but he was speaking directly to Canadians and the people of Greenland, and he's like, I want to tell you this right now. He said, none of us, and he was like talking not just about soldiers, but people of rank. Where like none of us are actually going to make a move. He was like, if you listen to kind of what's happening, he's like, no one's interested. They're like, he's like, sure, we'll draw up like battle plans. He's like, but everyone does that all the time, even to their allies. It's just it's like Batman and his like contingencies, right?
Kill the Justice League, yeah.
Right, like they'll like militaries all over the world draw up battle plans. It's just in case for shit like this.
We have a plan to invade America right now, actually.
Right. It's just what you do. It's not an act of war. It's just something that everyone does. And he's like, sure, we'll do that, but he's like, we have zero, like, if you like, he's like, listening to my uppers, none of them. It doesn't seem like our military is going to comply. Which
with what though?
With orders that go against the Constitution. So invading Greenland or Canada.
It's most likely to be Canada.
Or firing on the American people.
Yeah, they said that too. Like, none of them are interested. So, and the thing is that this is why before Biden got out, he met with our top brass, and they've been making moves months before the inauguration on the 20th.
I would hope
of
so.
January. So I'm confident in saying that I really don't think our military is interested in complying with his fascist bullshit.
'Cause that's
I'll
kind of
say
like
this.
the whole point of the military, you know. Fight
If
fast.
America gets their shit together and doesn't end up fighting with Russia and y'all overthrow your fascism shit, World War III is still upon us because we have to understand that all of this was orchestrated by Russia. You know what I mean? Like,
I've thought about that
regardless,
recently.
we're still heading to World War III
Well,
because
Putin
this
wants World War
whole
III. He absolutely
collapse.
does.
It's exactly what he's been pushing for because he
Yeah.
thinks that he can win it and that he can geopolitically reshuffle the cards in Russia's favor.
I mean, and I guess with having, you know, Trump in his pocket, it does look more plausible. You know, I guess in his mind he's like, "Oh, I got the United States now. Now I can win. Now I can win everything." But also, how long has Ukraine been fighting you? And like they're still fighting you?
What is it,
Like
4 years?
3
right,
years.
and they're still fighting. You have not won that. So, what makes you think you're going to win it all?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of Putin's men walked away.
Yeah.
So we also have to remember that war is just politics by another means, right?
It is.
And so is politics war by another means, right? So Putin doing what we have to understand too is Putin doing this jockeying with the United States and trying to getting Trump to call Zelensky a dictator, which like wild that that's where we're at.
To say
It
that
has to be
Ukraine
understood.
invaded Russia, that blew my fucking mind. That blew my fucking mind.
It has to be understood that he's doing this because he can't win conventionally right now, and he knows it. Putin is a strongman dictator. He will not negotiate what he can take at gunpoint, right? The reason he's doing this is because he's been so unsuccessful with Ukraine, right?
Mhm.
And because there is a slight gap in the conflict due to the interruption of the United States fucking election and shit, because there's a lot of military equipment that goes to Ukraine courtesy the United States, right?
Mhm.
Canada has
sending them a lot of
actually
aid.
spoken up. Yes, I mean we all have. Canada has spoken up and
Yeah.
said that we unequivocally will not stop supporting Ukraine, and that is a widely popular statement here. Canada stands with Ukraine. Not all Canadians stand with Palestine, but a lot of the Canadian citizens do, even if the Canadian government doesn't necessarily. So I gotta say, at the very least, I'm not a nationalistic person. I actually fucking hate the idea of Canada. I've called it three corporations in a trench coat many, 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 many times. That said, I am so fucking proud of my countrymen right now and my fellow the people who I share this land with, because the sentiment for people here stepping up and helping each other out and rallying, not just against like conservatism, but just outright fascism. Like I'm reading like organic comments on Facebook from like random ass old, and I'm talking like older Canadian citizens, like people who normally get opted by the right wing bullshit, saying our family has a proud tradition of serving in the military and killing fascists. And I've seen comments like, if I wasn't so old, I'd be signing up right with you, or if this comes, they won't need a fucking draft because I'm heading straight to the office, right? So like people are ready to fight against not just like America, but like outright fascism, you know? And I'm very proud of a lot of the people who've stood up for queer rights, even though like we've had our own conflicts over here too. We always give attention to all the bad shit happening, but I gotta give credence to all the good shit happening right now too. Because the world is a dark, fucked up place, but I see all of these people with more risk to themselves now than there ever has been before to do this. And still we rise, still we fight, and still we show up for each other. And y'all, if that's not the most beautiful and fucking motivating thing, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
We got each other, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get through this with love, not hate.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's I see it. You know, like I still smile when I see people being compassionate to one another when I'm out and about, or you know, even when I see our veterans here. I never realized this, but we basically have like an army of veterans who are and the vast majority all ready to like mobilize should he attempt to turn our military on us. They're already a lot of them are training, like they're starting to get back to training,
Reactivating.
shooting again. Yeah, they're doing what they have to do, and they're like, I might be retired, but my oath never expired, like, and that was nice to
My
see.
oath. Thank you for saying the word oath. This makes me think of like oaths are really, really serious. When you make an oath, when you pledge an oath, it is serious. It's not just
And twice as serious as the breaking of an oath.
Yes, it's very fucking serious. Like the Pledge of Allegiance is an oath. Also the fact that Trump swore an oath to uphold the fucking Constitution, and he's not.
Jay about to take his first level in Paladin over here. Let's go. Keep going. Keep going.
You know what I mean? So like, thou wilt be smited eventually. It will happen.
You fucking bet.
And that's out of the power of that's out of my hands. That's divine. That's the upstairs. You know what I mean? Like that's coming from whatever is coming for you, because truly I don't even know if we could call the man a Christian.
He's not. He's Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say he said multiple times, "I'm not a Christian." He said it in like an interview. Like he refused to put his hand on a Bible.
Yeah, he did it.
Look, by Catholic definition, he's actually the Antichrist. If you go and read Book of Revelations, it is to a T. The Antichrist is Donald Trump, right? Sorry, not sorry.
Might be muscle.
No, yeah. Go fucking read Revelations if you don't believe me.
It's true. It's true. The parallels are really bizarre. It's funny because Nostradamus, although the prophecy doesn't fit perfectly, but there are very peculiar similarities with the Nostradamus prophecies, and if I'm not mistaken, I think Mother Shipton also had some really disturbing, accurate predictions as to what's happening right now.
I'm curious about something. Of all the rise in magic, witchcraft, occultism, how popular it's getting, where, like, I know we talk about these prophets from like forever ago, like these prophecies from forever ago, or do we know anything about, like, is anyone spouting out prophecy currently?
Yes, but okay, look, so they're all over TikTok. There's always people spouting prophecy at any given moment.
Right.
But the problem is with prophecy, when you're in such tumultuous times, it actually has trouble of landing with a degree of accuracy, right? Like, even if you're channeling something from beings that are trying to warn you about something that's coming in the future, right? Time, albeit that it's not linear, it's also not predetermined, right? So like they can warn us about shit and we can steer events away from it in a way that it never happens, and we'll be like, well, where was it that they warned us about it, But like we averted that ship. So it's not cut and dry like that, I feel, and it's really difficult because if there were prophecies, would you believe them? Like real talk, I had a moment of frustration the other day with people too, because like I knew that everything that was going to happen with like fucking Trump was going to go this way from the moment Kamala was announced. Like if you remember on our episode where it was Kamala announced, I was like, no, she can't beat him. She won't. Right?
Yeah.
I actually wanted that deleted because I didn't want to like detract from the energy of trying to beat her, but I was fucking right.
Yeah.
Like, and it sucks. And if you tell people ahead of time, like, let's say that you have knowledge that 9/11 is going to happen tomorrow, okay? You could tell every fucker in the planet, you could lead that horse to water, but she will not fucking drink, okay? Prophecies be damned, they won't help us, and if anything, they just give you something to believe in that distract you from doing the extra work. Because the problem with most prophecies is they're about external salvation, and that shit ain't coming.
I think right, and it's funny because I early on in the I think it was when we went to war with Iraq, I knew about a bombing that was going to happen to a U.S. Embassy, and I knew hours before because I had a strong premonition. I was walking to school, and it like the sick feeling washed over me. I thought I was having a panic attack, but then all of a sudden I'm like standing in front of a building I had never seen, and I'm watching it explode. And I didn't know what it was. I had no clue until I found out later that the embassy had blown up. And then when I looked at the picture of the embassy, I was standing in front of the United States Embassy. But the thing is just like Sophia said, what was I going to do? Call the military? Hey, I had a premonition. They're going to blow up the United States Embassy. You know, like, that no one cares, you know?
Yeah.
I always said, like, you know, I think that's why sometimes I love the idea that part of our job as mystics, as practitioners, is to be observers. Why we always talk about the stories and why it's so important, why we have bards and story circles and music, and there's a reason why that's so sacred. There's a reason why we remember the lore, and it's almost sort of more important that we talk about it more so than like what it is. You know what I mean? It's important to remember. We're witnesses to things, I think. Not witnesses in the sense of like standing back and doing nothing, but there's a reason why we feel things so intensely. There's a reason why people like us can feel the disturbance in the force, you know? Someone has to watch it. Someone has to look at it and remember it and talk about it. You know, you have to tell the story of it. The stories are important. They teach us things. For those who are willing to listen, I think that we've stopped honoring stories. We stopped honoring those old traditions. Me and Sophia have talked before about, even in the occult community, this sort of thing about the old traditions, you know, like the animism, the spirit-led traditions, and not to say that anything is less valid, but there is a lot of wisdom in the cunning traditions and in the conjure traditions and the, you know, and
Now it
people
just seems a little more about correspondence. You know, like people get really hung up. Like, this is the god of this. This is the herb of this. This is the crystal of this, and that's magic.
And it starts to get too technical.
Yeah.
And there's a quote from the magicians that I was just looking up the other day, and I was gonna make a post about it, but I don't feel like arguing. But one the really awesome gay character from the magicians, whose name I cannot remember, he says, he's quoted as saying, magic doesn't come from talent, it comes from pain. And I think about that a lot, and I've had a conversation with a few big names in the community about that. And I've you know, we've talked about it on here before, how some of the best, a lot of the practitioners I've known, whether they're big author names or not, there's something about trauma and magic. There's something about pain and magic, and it comes to those who have survived. I think that that's another reason why, for instance, queer people are so drawn to magic. It is because we can. It is because it is built. Unfortunately, one of the things as queers that we inherit is a world that does not like you. Is in a world that will tell you every day that you are not right. When in reality, we are much more like the plant that is growing beneath our feet and the trees that stand over our heads, because they understand queerness, because they are as queer as we are. And when you are, even when everyone else around you is telling you you are not like us, I think that by our inherentness, by our inherited existence as queer people, we have mastery over the wind and the wave and the sun and the heavenly bodies, and we are connected to it in ways Not to say that other people can't be, but we are connected to it in ways that I don't think everyone inherently is as we are. I know people will hate me for that and they'll read me for filth, but you can bite my butt.
I wanted to give a quick shout out to Sage in the chat. Good to see you, Sage. The character is Elliot from The Magicians.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sage. Yeah, Elliot. I do really recommend watching The Magicians. It's a fantastic show. One just about magic, you know, if that's your thing. Obviously, if you're listening to that, it is. If you're listening to this, it is. It's also not like Harry Potter Magic School. They're not kids. They are young adults. So like they're in it's like graduate school level basically. So they're in their 20s and maybe some of them into their 30s. So it's a very mature magic show. I really do suggest it. I am also happy that you had a little Star Wars reference there, Scott, because I was thinking about this the other day. And kind of how, like our last session, Sophia was like, if you're having trouble thinking about everything that's going on, just think about it in terms of Star Wars and, the plot of that. But I was also thinking about, okay, so also in Star Wars, what happens is essentially a fucking genocide, right? Anakin, when he becomes Vader, he goes in and kills a bunch of Jedi kids. And furthering from there, as the years progress, leading up to the events of what we see in like the first trilogy, what is happening is essentially Sith trainee inquisitors are going around systematically hunting down Force sensitive people and Jedi and killing them. And I was like, okay, so the whole point is like they're trying to eradicate them so that way they can't make more of them, right? Like if we get rid of all the Jedi, then they can't fight against us, then we have all the power. And I was thinking in terms of like queer people. Like queer people are kind of like, or maybe just marginalized people in general, but queer people in particular is the lens I was thinking of, is like, because what you see in the newer trilogies of Star Wars is, even though they damn near killed every single Jedi that they could get their fucking hands on, right? Like there was only a handful of trained Jedi left. But Force sensitive kids are born all the fucking time. And that will never stop because that is the will of the Force. Like that's just how it works, And I kind of think about that in terms of queerness, right? Like you can go on your warpath. You can take the T out of the LGBT, whatever. You can do all of that and you can actually incite violence against it. Sure, you can do that, I guess, because that's what you're fucking doing. But at the end of the day, you're not going to eradicate queerness. It's not going to go away. You'll never get rid of it.
If anything, you're just making it more dangerous and making people more willing to fight back against you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if there was a God, which, like, I'm going to bring it back to God for a second, because these people love to make it about God, make it about religion, and make it about the divine, natural way of things, okay? If God don't like queer people, how come they keep making us? And not just making us, but specifically making us to counter the bullshit that you're bringing into the world. Seems to me that your God loves us and is sick of your bullshit.
Right. Why would he create the great equalizer to fight against you and your bullshit?
Right, HRT, the great equalizer. When everybody's got titties, they're too busy fighting each other. They're like, ooh, titties.
And also, like, with the whole of putting trans people in particular into the crosshairs, as I've said this again, it's they stumbled upon our community on the internet and saw us being happy and living our truth, and they got really fucking
I'm gonna be
pissed about
real.
that.
I think it was something more than that. I'm gonna call a spade with this one. They knew we existed before a lot of other people because they were actively looking at porn on us on the internet before we were commonly known. And when we became publicly known, and they had to make a point about it because they didn't want to be associated with us because they're ultimately really fucking attracted to us, because a lot of people are actually bi or queer in some capacity, but struggle to actually like let themselves experience that. And so trans people have always kind of been a vessel for cis heteronormative people who are queer inclined to project themselves onto. And that's why we became a flashpoint issue, because we were suddenly brought up in the public eye and they had to deal with the fact that they've been attracted to us the whole time and what that means about them. So no offense, girlies, but it was never about us in bathrooms. It was always about them looking at our porn and feeling ashamed with post-nut clarity.
That's
Yes.
1 million.
Yes.
1 mil.
And I will say this because it's to go off of that a little bit. There was a recent new statistic that has increased the population of people who identify as LGBTQ in America, and it has went up significantly. And of course, Republicans and conservatives and Nazis and whatever the fuck else they are, they have decided it's because of indoctrination, when we all already knew that more people were queer than were comfortable coming out. But now that people are, like Sophia said, getting angry because you're pissing people off so much that they're just like, fuck you, this is who I am. So they're coming out in spite. That's one thing. Another
That's
thing
a big thing.
right. So they're coming out in spite to say fuck you, and then on top of that, people are also able to people are now able to found family easier, and because of that, they're feeling safe and they're experiencing queerness in like real time. They're going to drag shows. They're they're doing things. I've talked about it 100 times before. It's like all those during lockdown, so many like men who you would never think were like, so I found some things out about myself. I don't think I'm straight, and some of them were like, they have boyfriends now, and they're like, I never thought I was attracted to men, and now I'm more in love than, you know what I mean? Like, so like people are like, there is no indoctrination. This is just how it's always been.
Yeah.
And we've been saying it for years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never really liked men, but I always resented women anytime they asked me to go down on them. So I guess in retrospect, it really makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's also back to what you were saying, Sophia, about like the fetishizing of trans people in particular, right? Like, so it's not gay if I hook up with a trans woman because it's a woman, right? It's a woman, right?
Right. These, like, I'll be real with y'all. As a trans woman, I would be a bigger slut if more people knew how to not be fucking idiots on dating apps. But I'll tell you this, at least 75% of my matches are with men who would like to appear straight or claim to be bi-curious, who really just want to get with me to suck my dick. Right. And then like the moment that like it even gets like remotely sexually interested, they're all like, oh, do you want me to like masturbate and eat my own cum? Sorry if that's TMI, but like legit, that's what happens. Like it goes from like, oh, you're disgusting to like absolute fucking simp hour in like 5 fucking seconds. It's gross. And like it's these exact guys who will be like voting conservative and out there going to fucking claiming they're going to church on Sunday, and then they're in your fucking DMs asking you for fucking dick pics, right? Like
they're
it's
on
fucking
Pornhub,
hilarious.
like chicks with dicks, blah blah blah.
And like, look, I'll be real, really, really real with you. If you're a cis straight guy and you like trans women, that's not gay at all, right? But being insecure about it sure is gay.
I was saying to Rue the other day, we had noticed fashion-wise, it seems the 90s is coming back. Like flared boot.
Oh, the 90s is
jeans,
90s has been coming back since 2005.
Yeah, I shouldn't say, because really bell bottoms were from the 70s and then they came back in the 90s, so here we are again. But like I've noticed a lot of things from the 90s coming back, and I was like, wait, this is amazing, this is perfect, because in the 90s, I grew up as a kid. It's probably terrible, but everything was gay. It was like, take out the trash. Oh, that's gay. I don't want to do that. Like, I don't know why that was our go-to thing.
What, you got Pokemon Yellow?
That's gay.
Pokemon Yellow's gay. You gotta get Pokemon Red or Blue.
Right.
Like, yellow's for fags.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, and it turns out I've been a whole gay my whole life, so, but I'm like,
I
this
know,
is
right?
great. The 90s,
It's like,
everything is gay now.
it's
This is
like,
awesome.
thanks. I'll take my fag ass and get my Pikachu and hop on my rainbow bike and get out of here.
Same.
God, I remember when we started making it like we tried to like excuse it away with like not GAY but GEY. Do you remember that?
No,
Oh,
I
Like,
don't
we
no,
were
remember.
or
trying
is
to,
it like, is it okay if we hold out hands and kiss but say no homo after? Like,
Oh, right, no
Oh
homo.
God,
That was it.
no
Yeah, no homo.
like
It's like,
I
okay,
knew a
dude.
guy who,
all the homo.
real talk, funny, shout out to Lazar if you're listening to this, I guarantee you're not. But he was a guy from my hometown who completely disappeared in the last 5 years. Nobody knows where he is. And we all figured it's either one of several things, okay? He's either fucking dead because he owed money to the wrong people, okay? He
Mm.
fled the country and is living in Serbia because he owed money to the wrong people, okay? Or option three, the dude is as gay as a Christmas cake, and there's a significantly high chance that he left our hometown and is living in some city, being his gayest self, wearing like fishnet fucking shirts and dancing in gay clubs with like four bears pushing up on him. Because like this is a guy who is constantly like making jokes about like making out with dudes and like sending dick pics with other guys to like compare sizes and shit. And it's like, my dude, you are not straight. You might like women, but you very clearly are attracted to men. And it's okay because I'm a trans woman who's also attracted to men. I'm pansexual. But boy, do I wish I was not attracted to men because they're fucking stupid.
word.
Rue's like
Like,
howling.
sexually, like I'm just gonna go on a little pansexual rant right now. I will never be romantically interested in men the same way that I am with women because there's just never that level of emotional intimacy that I get with a woman. It just isn't fucking there. But also, something real hot about big slab of meat guy go fucky fuck, right? Big hot guy fuck really hot. So I'm very sexually attracted to men, but I don't think I could ever
Not like
romantically date
emotionally.
one. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I mean, look, I could be, but to find the type of guy who's
That's
both
a
like sexually attractive to me and is like spiritually fulfilling to be with, because like I am not even dating people who aren't spiritual anymore. I put that up on my like Tinder in my field. I'm like, if you're not into like magic and witchcraft and all that stuff, I'm not interested. Because like real talk, y'all, every relationship that I've ever had that's ever fallen apart, it always has to do with the fact that I'm too fucking different from them. We have two diametrically different fucking worldviews. And like, how the fuck is me, you know me very well, how the fuck you gonna see someone like me going and dating somebody who's not even into fucking magic and UFOs and strange like government bullshit, right?
Yeah, like some
It just,
very
it
like
doesn't work.
straight-laced like accountant, and it's like, oh, I could not picture
Well,
that for
site reliability engineer, but yes. And
Yeah.
then they'll do things and I'll get in arguments with them and they'll be like, well, you know, I've seen things that prove that faster than light travel can't exist, so you're fundamentally wrong. And I'm like, cool, I've had close encounters with stuff that breaks the laws of physics that you're quoting to me, so like we're at a fucking impasse here, homie. And it doesn't fucking work out, right? I can't date, I don't even want to call them normies, right? But if you're not
Right.
like witch pilled or at least like a little bit like paranormal / UFO pilled, sorry, you're not for me anymore, right? I'm getting weird in my 30s. I don't need to date no, oh, let's go and iron our clothes and get brunch at Cactus Club. Like, nah, fuck that shit, bitch. Let's eat a tab of acid and stay up till 4 a.m. and go get Denny's and watch the fucking light of the sunrise, okay? That's what I'm about.
Yeah. I wanted to give some attention over to Sage and Kai here in the chat. So Sage has been just loving everything you've been saying, Sophia. Apparently you've been preaching the word, speaking her whole life over here. And Kai was just saying, I love everyone here so much, and we love you, Kai, and also Sage and everyone.
We love you too.
Because honestly,
and everybody in the forum or the Discord.
Yeah, we really do. Because I wish we could all like hang out in like one room. Like we could have like Witches Betwixt Con. Like I would love that. You know, just like rent a couple cabins.
You know, maybe
somewhere.
we do.
We could. It's
Or even like a
ugh.
digital convention where we hop into a Discord room and hang out with people on a predetermined day. Like
That could be
the reason
fun.
I bring this up is Flame Dryad, who's in our Discord, who's been there for 5 ever, who posts Memento Magica every day,
Every day.
like a baller, saying like,
Mhm.
"Hey y'all, what's up?" He's recently joined my psionics class and is like
Oh.
helping with like providing materials for it, right? And it's like it just felt so fucking effortless and chilling with them. It was like, oh hey, and like we're just people chatting with people, and it's so good to like just recognize that everyone's a person.
Mhm.
Everybody has something to bring that's unique and that's magical, and like really, if we ever had a chance to hang out with you, there wouldn't really be any pretenses of like, oh, so you're a fan and we're the podcaster. Like, fuck that
No,
shit.
it'd be like in
We're
my
people, you're
backyard,
people.
and I'd be like, burger or hot dog? What do you want? Like, it would be like barbecuing or something.
And then somebody says something offensive and you whip a Frankfurt at them and it flies by their ear,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because like I was a part of a call in which there was a couple big name, sort of pagan sort of people in there, Starhawk being one of them. And I remember Scott asked me, "I'm
Who's
gonna put you on
Starhawk?
blast, Scott." Starhawk is she's a very prominent I guess like pagan Wiccan writer from like I guess her heyday
I
was
was
like
gonna
the
say she's an author,
70s.
ain't she?
Yeah, yeah. She did write this incredible fiction book that I do suggest everyone. It's actually a series of 3 books, I believe. The Fifth Sacred Thing
Yeah.
by Starhawk. It's just read it. You can find it on. Just look it up, read it. It's great. It's good. Please read it. But so Scott, I'm gonna put you on blast here for a second. You're like, well, so how was it being like talking to Starhawk or whatever? And I realized it took me a moment, and I realized I said it really like I don't want to downplay this, and I'm not trying to downplay any big name person or their accomplishments or their contributions to everything that we're doing here, but we're all people. It was very much like I'm
No, downplay him.
desensitized. Like like I'm desensitized to the like how in America we have this like celebrity worship, this cult of celebrity worship kind of thing. And and I see it sometimes in the pagan community from other people, like people like, oh my god, this person, oh my god, ooh. And I'm like,
Yep.
okay,
Like real talk, downplay them.
right. And me, I'm just like, oh hey, how are you? Hey, hey Silver, how are you? Like like they're just people, and I think it's because of all of the work I do in Pagan Pride. Like I've met a lot of big name people. They've been our keynote speakers. But they're also just doing the work like the rest of us, like
In my defense, my excitement was actually not because of her pagan writing, but because of her activism.
Yeah, she is a huge
Fair.
activist.
I knew about her activism.
Yeah.
I actually knew about her as an activist before I knew about her that she was
like
a witch,
Wiccan,
which of course came very quickly.
Yeah.
But her activism is what I was excited about.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we should have heroes though, and I think downplaying them is actually one of the coolest things you can do, right? Like I've had people. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying I think inspirations are good.
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%. I'm not going to say for a second anybody shouldn't have that, right? But like, for example, I have been in the chaos magic community long enough that I've met people who are like, oh my God, like you painted this or you wrote this or you came up with this. Like there's been several instances of it, right? And before when I was younger, my answer would be like, yeah, that was me. I'm so glad you liked it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now my answer, it's just, look, I'm just a person, yo.
That was my contribution.
I have done stuff and I will do more stuff and I will continue to do stuff. Thank you for appreciating, but I am no greater or no less than any of you, And that's something that I think that we as witches have an easier time doing because magic is deliberately often set up to inoculate you against that,
Mm-hmm.
Like magic practiced well dissolves the ego or at least quiets it down to a point where it's not steering your fucking ship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if you're
I've
talking really
noticed
loud,
most successful.
I was gonna say, if you're talking really loud about how dissolved your ego is, you probably have not dissolved.
It ain't. Girl, it ain't. If you're saying how dead your ego is because you had an ego death, well, maybe you should go back to that ayahuasca ceremony because you forgot what it was about.
Redo.
Real talk, most people who say that they have an ego death haven't had an ayahuasca ceremony. They just have like a near death experience and they're like, oh, I'm so scared. This must be what a ego death is like. And it's like, bro, ego deaths, you like often can't even conceive of the self. Like it's a bit of a different beast, but it's okay. Like
You're getting there.
it's fine. And real talk, ego death is it's kind of like one of those we put things up on a pedestal thing. You could get all the way up to ego death and never fully achieve it and still be a wonderful fucking human being who has their shit together 10 times better than people who have achieved it and then backslid into their old behaviors, right? Like I'm telling you.
Very true. I just wanted to say, so Sage was saying in the chat, I feel like we are friends even though we have never met face to face. And that, thank you so much for saying that because that is exactly the vibe that I wanted to give here.
Yeah.
That was the whole goal.
That was the goal.
Yeah, everyone feels like we're chilling in the same room talking about shit that we like to talk about. And sometimes shit that we don't like to talk. Like, I don't really like talking about fascism, but it's kind of like I kind of have to because it's like happening. You know?
Yeah. Like I would, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hate talking about that shit. I am
great.
having the most fun when we're talking about, like, I think one of our most enjoyable episodes was our death episode where I ate mushrooms for it and I was really attuned to that energy and I did the death rattle. Like, fuck, that's one of my favorite episodes I think we ever did. Those are the fun fucking episodes, like the Halloween one where we're talking about like aliens or like the ones where like Rue comes in all shook up because they had like a big spiritual experience and they had it with Scott and the two of you were telling your stories. Those are my favorite fucking episodes, right? Ones like this, they're hard to get through, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're emotional.
What was that? Oh, about.
I think Scott was. I think you were repositioning. That's what that sounded like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was that me?
Yeah.
I was just trying to pass the mic to you anyways. It's A-okay. It's A-okay.
Scott making dad noises.
Oh, that was me. I apologize. That was me moving. The worst part is I do things I don't even know. No, I was saying like, yeah, these episodes they are really hard to get through. They're emotional. They're emotionally taxing. I love when we talk about like theory and we talk about like spells and lore and all that fun stuff. We talk about paranormal experiences. I really enjoy that stuff.
I love it when Scott's giving us lore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You are
That's
very
what I love. I love doing that. It's one of my favorite things. But I mean, I still can. It's just like Jay said. Like I feel like we have to keep queer witches motivated.
Yeah.
You know, even if we're not necessarily all motivated ourselves all the time, you know, but it's important that we keep each other together. You know, we hold it together. I think that that's important. Part of our job here on this podcast is making sure that queer witches and people who want to be practitioners who maybe find us, I think it's important that we give them hope, that we give them inspiration, as we were just talking about. And I think that to give them family, a chosen family, that's part of queer history. And I think that we can say that we've at least successfully started doing that here. You know, and I think those things are important. I do. Especially because right now, because you know now, one thing that we have not talked about on here that I mean I know it's getting late, but if anything, it could be a segue into a topic for next week. But the Christian bias thing that he's doing, that whole like in order to fight bias against Christianity, that whole weird department that he's creating.
Oh, the Department of Faith.
Whatever that's called, where they fight against anti-Christian bias. Yeah. And you know, a lot of interfaith and pagan leaders are like, that's going to directly affect us, almost certainly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's going to come for the occult community, the pagan community. It had before, you know. They you know, it's not as if they didn't come for us before. So,
But Scott and I are actually working on a plan.
yeah.
We are. Keep your eyes peeled in the Discord. I think it might just be a new channel that I'll make.
Ooh.
But keep your eyes peeled.
Hit
We
me
have
up if
had
you need an emoji for it.
Yes. But yes, keep your eyes peeled, and there's going to be some collective magic working that we'll all be able to do in a sort of focused way that really works within the wheelhouse of everything that we represent here in the podcast. So, but yes, keep your eyes peeled for that in the Discord.
I might be interested in chatting with y'all about that when we're not live, because
Mhm.
I had some other stuff. If you remember, like about a year ago, I mentioned that lighthouse project, but we never ended up doing it. I still do want to do that. Just life
Right.
really fucked me last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I
getting
think they might
into
align. Sorry, go ahead.
absolutely. No. What you were saying, I was going to say, I think getting into this will allow to really open up for stuff like that in general.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is
Love it.
exactly what we want. Is to because what we're planning, which obviously you'll be let in on. I didn't mean like we just don't
No,
want to
it's
talk.
okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's okay.
No, it's like important that you know. It's just you'll know as soon as
I believe
possible.
you.
What's it called? So as soon as we start getting that done, it'll that's what we want. We want it to open up exactly this opportunities to collectively do magic together. For all the things that we talk about on here, wink wink. I think everyone understands me. And we have a lot of other ideas as well. I keep working on things and pitching ideas to Jay. All those things will be discussed later.
Yes.
But yeah, keep eyes peeled. Sophia, you will know. I have to do D&D today, but I will try to. I'll let Jay explain because it'll be easier because I'm having like brain issues today. So
Yeah, I can
You're
set
good.
you up.
yeah,
with
Jay
the
will explain everything.
Yeah.
Because I have to get to D&D and stuff.
Which leads me to, we've been blabbering
Yeah.
on for a while. So, and I know we all have other engagements and whatnot. So, any concluding sort of final thoughts for today's session?
I'll go last.
I think I kind of want to do a Sophia thing here, and I just want to say that fascists can't be witches, and witches need to fight back against fascism.
Hell yeah.
You can't lick boots and be a witch.
Boom.
Doesn't
No.
work.
Oh, that's a t-shirt. Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll say my thing. Don't give up. I know things look really bad right now, but remember, we were all wanting revolution prior to this. Nobody was happy with how things were earlier, aside from the oligarchs. It's important to remember that as bleak as things are right now, we've made more progress to changing the world fully in revolution and actually having a revolution than we ever could have had if this shit didn't happen. I know it's scary. I know not all of us are going to survive that. And that's the shitty thing, too. We always say, we will survive this. Some of us don't, And to those who don't, I love you. I will see you on the other side. Your sacrifices will not be forgotten. And your names, even if not written down, will be remembered in the great sacrifices of history of those who gave everything just to live their lives and be free and to push back against tyranny where they saw it, So with that, I'm going to pass the mic and just say, if you're interested, psionics class at 4:00. It's in a half hour. If you want an invite, fucking hit me up on the Witches Betwixt server. Pew pew.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. I really can't think of anything else to kind of conclude on that. That was excellent points.
God is a lesbian.
There you go. God is a lesbian. I really think I should do a no context t-shirts merch line. Just black t-shirts, white text, the quote and just see if it takes off. Like you
Like,
can't look boots
God
be a
is a
witch.
lesbian.
God is a lesbian. Just like very simple, basic. You know, fuck it. I'm gonna get really high one day and just come up
I
with
hate
bullshit.
Nazis.
Right. It might be a good idea. Support the
Nazis is good.
podcast. Yeah, I like.
There's so many
we
random
should fucking
quotes
do
from
it.
our show that like we've wanted to put on a T-shirt.
And we can. I just haven't done it. So
We need
if
a
you think of quotes,
sponsor.
just fire the quotes to me. And I will put them. I'll get them on our Printful site, and you can order them. Very quickly before we go, I did want to say you can support us in other ways. We do have a Ko-fi page. We have a couple tiers on there. Our top tier is $6.66 a month. It's the Hail Satan tier. With that, you can hail whatever you want to do, give a shout out, whatever the case is. We do have a subscriber to that tier. That is Tink. Tink has been a long time subscriber to that tier, and Tink wants us always to remember the people of Palestine, everything that they're going
Free
through.
Palestine!
Free Palestine. And no, we do not want Maragaza or whatever the fuck is being planned in the U.S. government. So, strength to the people of Palestine. And with that, we are going to sign off here, and we will see you all in the next one.
Bye.